So we cross over now to Mama V Owusu Abuaje. Mama
Dafeamekpor.
Good morning,
yeah.
Mama V, and good morning to my very, very good brother who has abandoned me. And good morning to my constituents in South Nine, Dafeamekpor.
Mr. Sete Champon, a very good morning to you. Happy New Year.
Many happy returns, Mama V, and a good morning to you and my brother who is elegantly dressed this morning. I'm very excited for him because Ghana depends on them in the next 24 hours and beyond. I mean, they would certainly have to direct the legislative business of our republic, and I know that he's a very, very hard-working, enthusiastic parliamentarian, and I expect a lot from him.
You're dressed like today is your day, is our day.
Typically, I enjoy these African wears, but today being my last day working there in Parliament, I thought I needed to come calm and in a very cool, usual manner. That's the way I love to be referenced, at least in my African wear. I know that I'm natively working in the land and
on
for
native
the people.
And you are natively working on native soil.
On native soil, as Nelson would say. And I think it's a beautiful day. The ambience, typically, I'm happy that we are on the lawns, and it demonstrates how beautiful our state house is. And this Precincts of Parliament is a place that I would always love to showcase because it's a beautiful edifice. And I'm proud as a Ghanaian we have a place like this. I've traveled across West Africa. I've seen most of the parliaments that we have. Ghana is so unique and so beautiful.
All right, so let's start the conversation. I want to start with the State of the Nation address. And it's good because you are on the Defense Committee of Parliament.
He's the chairman.
Exactly. Last day as chairman of the Defense Committee. One of the things that the minority raised the attention, you brought this to bear, and I think we also observed as persons who were in Parliament for the State of the Nation address. Too much security, isn't there? I mean, from all corners, it extends. What kind of intelligence did they pick up that even this morning we can see lots of security here?
Thank you very much. I think it is prudent that the stability of this country is kept properly, and whoever is in control must ensure that within these few hours of transition, we must ensure that the state is fully secured so we don't have any kind of upsets or events that would return us away from this beautiful dispensation that we find ourselves in. The Fourth Republican dispensation is something all Ghanaians cherish, and it is about the longest lasting Republican constitution that we as a people have decided to work with, and we are still working with. So we will take no chances at all. We must ensure that the state is in full control of herself.
Do we need these men doing something else this morning after all what's happening in Parliament today?
Mind you, this is a strategic state asset, and so we need to ensure that it gets the full attention that it deserves. And for me, it is not a normal season. Midnight of the 6th, those of us who got sworn in to Parliament on this midnight of the 6th entering the 7th of January 2017, our mandate as reps of the people expires. My colleagues who have been elected into office would appear before the chairperson of the first meeting of the 8th Parliament, which would be the clerk. None of them would have taken an oath. We would have no speaker at a time. It would have to be nominated by either caucuses for a decision to be taken before my colleagues are sworn in before the speaker who they so elect. And so you realize that the constitutional processes allows for some gaps. Now, to fully protect those gaps, you must ensure that you have put all necessary precautions on ground. So, mind you, this country since 1957 have gone through 4 republics. It must tell you a story. And so any person managing public safety is guided by such history and must ensure that we continue in this beautiful dispensation.
Well, he sounds convincing, Mr. Dafeamekpor, in terms of the heavy security presence that we still see in Parliament.
Not at all. I was here 4 years ago. It's a very senior member of the House. Even though I'm sad, he's very experienced, very, very erudite on a lot of sectors, including security and intelligence, and defense and interior. And he's a friend. But he misses the point. And the point he raises is that you do not speak of the fact that there shouldn't be security, but the concern is about the heightened level. So what informs that a year ago when we had Sona, what was the level of security? And don't forget, we have a police presence on the presence of Parliament. In fact, the police presence has been elevated from a district status to a divisional status. So they have enough men. But we don't simply see a higher number of policemen. We see immigration men bearing weapons. We see soldiers dressed as if they are being deployed to Kandahar. We see men in fire service uniform. You know, in every corner that you turn in Parliament. And so we're asking that this being the last Sona of the President's first term, what to inform this level of heightened security, preparedness.
There's
now,
the transition, there's the inauguration
no,
coming
but
up.
This is a man that says that I am transitioning onto myself. So why are you afraid of transitioning onto yourself? You are transferring power from yourself to yourself. If the transfer were from him to another person, then he would say that, yes, I need to put in heightened security preparations so I can transfer power peacefully. The situation is that we are transferring power. We are continuing with a certain renewal mandate, which to us, in the end, is a tainted mandate for now. We are asking the court to make a definitive pronouncement. But the point we are making is that, look, if you saw the the press release from the police service, signed by their PRO, 6,000 security men. Is Accra home to 6,000 security men?
Well, at least aren't you happy that we didn't record any incidents yesterday?
No, I agree, but we've never recorded any incident in protocol arrangements such as this. I don't recall ever for such an incident to therefore guide us. You know, that is why the minority yesterday raised the issue. It appears that it's a ploy to intimidate us.
Do you feel intimidated?
We feel, because look, yesterday when I entered my floor, the 5th floor, there were 2 soldiers bearing arms, dressed in a manner that you cannot even identify them. They look like Robocop, bearing arms around the lift. The 3 others were posted on my floor. That's
and
my
did that
floor.
scare you?
And my floor is just the 2nd middle level of the west wing. There are 2 middle portions before 2 wings. That's the far western wing and the far eastern wing. I belong to the middle level of the eastern wing. 3 soldiers on my floor alone. 2 posted in front of the elevator. When you go behind the elevator, you want to take the staircase. Soldiers were posted at every level of the staircase.
Did that prevent you from doing your regular...
When you pose the question, and the qualifying phrase was heightened security. You are not speaking of non-security preparedness. No, that's not what we are speaking of.
Isn't that a bit too much? So they are also in Job 600?
Yes, and they were also positioned behind Job 600. You know, there's an area behind the 600 building, at the back of it. There were soldiers all over.
Well, I actually saw the security personnel way beyond, Parliament, actually. So this
and in the release, they told you that in fact they'll be doing recce, overt and covert, even in communities.
So get used to it, right?
No.
Because it's today and tomorrow.
No, you see, yeah, it's today and tomorrow. But like you posed, what level of intelligence will inform this level of security preparedness? 6,000.
So let me pose that question. Was there something that you picked on the ground?
They're afraid of their own shadows.
First and foremost, Ghana is a pride to the African continent. And because Africa is proud of Ghana, we're having a lot of heads of state visiting Ghana for tomorrow's event, because our leadership is being emulated by many. And mind you, this 2020 elections is teaching us a new lesson in our democracy. There are a couple of disputes which is taking us through the proper adjudication processes, and I know a couple of them have started already. So in view of the nature of the last general elections and its aftermath incidents, I am not so much surprised as to the deployment of security. Mind you, for the first time, 2020 general elections called for over 62,000 security personnel. Very, very unique. It's never happened.
Yeah, but it still didn't prevent us from recording the incidents that we've recorded. People were killed.
So that should tell you, prior to that, we were offered the flashpoints, over 6,000 flashpoints. So it should speak to any person doing analysis of our public safety to have at the back of their mind that there's a bit of agitation in the system, and so you must take good caution. Okay. And so these are the building blocks. I'm to say this because besides all that is happening, mind you, after the last elections, your good selves have been recording a lot of misunderstanding on our streets, and it is not typical of post-elections. We've had post-elections misunderstandings.
We've seen the police go to court to prevent the NDC from further hitting the streets. Finally, the NDC,
I don't want to label it the NDC.
John Mahama has gone to court with a petition. So haven't we gone beyond that?
John Mahama is gone to court. Some citizens may not be at the watch of John Mahama overnight by the second. We must ensure that nobody takes the state unaware.
Okay.
So whatever presence you find, it is as to what the public safety managers find appropriate.
Okay.
It may be unfortunate, but we've lived in this republic under certain era, which may not be this era. We had more security presence than we are having now.
Yeah, but we've moved on beyond that.
Yes.
I guess that's why all of us are observing.
No, we expected that once we had moved on, we're not going to burn ties on streets. We're not going to pelt police people with stones.
Anyway.
And so the nature of our advancement must reflect the way we do things. It's not just about me being smooth talker, not a rhetoric, but we must walk the talk. And so if we do things orderly, the system will be smooth for all of us.
Okay. Not to put you on the spot, but because you mentioned the violence that we recorded during the elections and in the aftermath, I've been very passionate about an update since the IGP, on behalf of the task force, the election task force, told us about the incident that we recorded, the deaths and then the injuries. Where are we with investigations?
At the last count, the Director General of the Criminal Investigations Department did a press meeting and gave an account. The only downside...
This has been like, what, more than 2 weeks, right?
Yes, the only downside of investigations, and Nelson will tell you, investigations can be completed today. It can take a year.
You know what is disappointing? When the NDC minority went on the... Well, they said they were walking. They were probably just like a group would go to a chop bar. But the police put it differently. They've been taken to court. That was quite speedily.
Once you are, like I said, investigations can be completed today. It can be completed tomorrow. It could take a week. It could take a month. It could take a year. So this is the challenge when it comes to investigations. If in the matter you just referenced, where we knew all ourselves and we identified ourselves, it's easy business.
Isn't it convenient, really, when the most important issues in terms of deaths being recorded, that is still hanging? But I don't want the conversation to be all about this. So
I agree with you. I agree with you. In the circumstance, Mama V, you may call it so, but it is the reality. It is what it is. We have to make sure we do not tramp on people's liberties and freedoms unnecessarily. And so you cannot just go and accost people and incarcerate them. You must go through the due process.
Okay, so I guess on behalf of the many viewers and followers, we need updates. We need updates, and it's been too long.
Unfortunately, the times we are in is saddening that we do not have that assertive authority, because we are concluding all our businesses today. That's why I'm saying a lot depends on the 8th Parliament to also continue from where we're living off. You cannot just today, when we are in this exercise, call for ABC. You just have to ensure that you leave good handing over notes, and then people carry on thereafter.
Okay, so let's talk about the State of the Nation address, Mr. Dafeamekpor.
May I rebut 2 points
just
quickly?
Very quickly.
2 points. It's not true that in an obvious insinuation to the NDC, there were more security deployment than this. It's not true. Even under Jerry Rawlings at the height of his military rule, I didn't even see this. I was born in Accra, I grew up in Accra. Under his mandate, that's first term, second term, we saw swearing-ins. I never saw this level of security deployment. Even under President Kufuor, I never saw this level of security deployment. We are speaking of the sheer size of the security deployment. So my brother Champon shouldn't justify it. There's no need. There's no need.
Okay,
so he shouldn't justify it.
What?
And then two.
You said, okay, so the final one.
He speaks about the speed or the rate of investigations. It's important. It's part of the ingredients of seeking justice. If it takes forever for investigations to be conducted, it means that the state is not interested in prosecuting your matter. Meanwhile, like you said, a mere semblance of a walk to a choba has attracted the criminal summons.
Except that you're not going to a choba.
A semblance. That's why I said semblance. And I'm borrowing from your expression. All right, a group of people walking on the street to present a mere petition is landed that's in court. All right, with such alacrity. So I agree with you. Why are we not exhibiting similar level of alacrity in investigating and prosecuting such other matters? That is why, you see, justice must not simply be seen to have been done, but it must be manifestly done.
Okay.
The level of manifestation is missing.
What worked for you with the State of the Nation? Initially, we thought the minority wouldn't show up, but you did. And you listened, you sat through the presentation. What worked for you?
Well, pretty the point where he asked for a minute silence for the departure of my founder, their friend, my founder, but their friend. That was good. It means the protocols, the affairs of the protocol arrangements and of the affairs of states is in order. Like I hinted yesterday, I expected him to speak about the violence before the elections and during and after. He glossed over it. What he did was to address the supposed violence emanating from our announcement of disagreement of the pronouncement of or declaration of the presidential results. But that matter, it's at rest now. We are in court. But the NDC is saying that that will not detract from the fact that we have the right to demonstrate. You saw that the police have gone to court with an ex parte motion to practically bar us from any form of staging public protest anywhere in the Greater Accra.
We haven't seen you react legally beyond your commentary.
Yes, you see, because these are the characteristics of a police state. Clearly, these are things that we do in a typical dictatorial regimes. We permitted them to do all manner of things in 2012, in 2016. So
you're disappointed that he did mention the protests and the violence recorded
and ascribe them to my flag bearer.
Okay, but he didn't talk about the violence during the election.
Yes, that erupted in several areas.
Okay, so I see that what really impressed you was just the first bit, the minute silence for Jerry John Rawlings, and that's it.
It's an account, and a supposed account of his stewardship. It talks of an improved economy, when the accounts clearly show that this economy is in regression. I am not saying that their own account says the economy is growing at a negative rate.
Well, but wasn't that also because, and he did mention it, COVID-19, nobody saw it coming.
Do you know how much money they came to Parliament to take to manage the COVID situation?
We've seen other countries still battling with the COVID-19.
No, but other countries are making steady progress.
Are they?
Yes.
When you say steady progress, what exactly do you mean?
At least appreciable growth rates. Some are recording 3%, some are recording 3.5%. Ours is in the negative. I am not saying it's their own figures. They took so much money. And when we ask them to even account for how they apply the money, it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem.
Okay, so that's your...
and yet the same man says within the same period, one of his flagship policy programs, Planting for Food and Jobs, was excellently executed.
Oh, he says that there's abundant food.
He will know. If he had been properly apprised, he would know that every day over 50 trucks cross the border at Paga, at Hamley, all right, and enter the Republic of Ghana with tomatoes from Burkina Faso.
Hasn't that, it's always been the story, hasn't it? I don't know the number of
trucks. But the man is saying because of his Planting for Food and Jobs, we are rather a net exporter of tomatoes and other foodstuffs. I didn't say it, it said it. But the reverse is the situation. We still import tomatoes. Mama V, the man refused to speak of our public debt portfolio. It's almost 300 billion from a low of 120 billion within 4 years. Champion is quiet.
Oh, because should I take the microphone to him?
No, he's happy that didn't come up. He's happy that didn't come up. Because this were a group of people who ascended to power on the sheer mantra of excessive borrowing on the part of the NDC. So for me, like the minority leader said, we wish we could defer the debate to another day, but we simply don't have time within the constitutional arrangement. And so platforms such as this will offer us the opportunity to give up bits and pieces of it.
Great. Okay, so you've listened to him. He makes there's a lot of meaning in what he said.
Why not? Because that is the line of thought. So definitely once he's thinking in such lines, he will say stuff like that. The point must be made, and we must give praise where praise is due. I think Planting for Food and Jobs have come to help. The last time this country successfully undertook on a program like that was under General Kutu Echampong, Operation Feed Yourself, where this country was that much successful with its agri policies. And I must admit that this economy is primarily an agrarian economy. And so for the president to continue to hammer on us doing our best to sustain planting for food and jobs is critical. Our population keeps increasing. Unfortunately, there's this mythical, notion in our up-and-coming youth that there is some established white-collar businesses all over. We do not have them. So the earlier we begin to preach the reality to our people, the better. So for me, planting for food and jobs is one of the areas where we can encourage value addition. We can encourage those who have the interest into going into agric. And so that must be a come to stay statement.
Yeah, but the reality is that is not feeding all of us right now.
Mama V, because we are a liberalized economy, we have the freedom to choose what we want. I, in the last decade, have told myself that I would only feed on locally grown Ghanaian rice. And I eat apple rice. And I enjoy it from Dafeamekpor. It is nutritious, it is healthy, unlike the imported ones you may not know, stayed in warehouses for more than several years. I don't want to destroy somebody's business. But the most important thing for me is that we need to encourage ourselves to participate in homegrown businesses. Let me say this. Former President John Dramani Mahama, a good advocate of us patronizing homemade business and homemade products. So I'll be surprised any person coming from NDC to be chastising a good policy like planting for food and jobs. I understand that we did not lose tomato growing under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's administration. As a young man after sixth form, when I was posted to go to do my national service in Navrongo, I knew of the Tono irrigation dam of Aiko, where we were planting tomatoes in Tono, and in Bolga area via we're doing major irrigation and planting tomatoes. It is not new, but over the period, systemic, we have failed. And so any policy to revive and bring back the lost period and the lost glory must be hailed and must be praised. So I am forever in tune with the president, and I would promote Made in Ghana, and this is one of the best ways in promoting Made in Ghana.
Okay. So generally, just sum up your thoughts about the presentation. You've heard reactions, you've reacted to some of the comments, but what do you make of the presentation?
Excellent presentation. He took over when the economy was struggling. We had to run to the IMF for policy credibility to sustain our own selves. Fortunately, he inherited, he drove his subordinates. Let's get Ghana out of it. We're out of it today. It was good he reported to us. You rightly said, but for COVID, I'm sure we would have done better than we are now. Beyond that, our financial sector, we are not out of the woods yet. I will not say so. But we have a more robust financial sector serving us today. We only have to ensure that the necessary measures are still maintained. And it is not that Nelson is my brother and my friend. If the processes and the inspectorate regulations are not pursued and followed, let us crack the whip. This is the only way we can save Ghana. It is about making sure that the institutions are tough on operatives. When we do that, nobody will have the chance to come and play around with us. Okay. And I must say that Ghana is not there yet. We are still pushing ourselves to be there. But we cannot say we haven't done well. We have been good to ourselves, and we have done much, much better. We've improved upon a lot of the things that we're doing. And that's why I'm encouraged that under his second administration, let me say this, a former member of this house as a parliamentarian, he went through the President Rawlings administration, served under President Kufuor as a minister, and then stood for elections and lost, and was the leader and the priest of my tradition under President Mills and then President Mahama. And today he's in the saddle. So at the back of him is a lot of experience. So a lot is expected of him. That's why I think the marking scheme for me is so high. That's why people keep bashing and talking and chastising the way they do. But the problem of Ghana is still not easy to manage. It is a lot. And we demand that all hands. That is why I cite and I pride myself in the statement on the president's acceptance of the declaration by the Electoral Commission of his victory, that Ghana has sent a message to the two major political traditions of this country, the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress, that Ghana expects us to work together. And this becomes my next message to my brother Nelson, that consensus building, and I know he is a good consensus developer, and that is the way forward for Ghana's growth.
But consensus building is not a one-way issue.
No,
it's interesting that both of you didn't.
I made that statement based on experience, my experience with him. I will not call. I say who comes to equity must come with clean hands.
Okay,
I'll not call on him to build consensus if I do not demonstrate consensus myself.
Okay. All right,
I must come to be the first person who must go consult and plead where he does not understand. Okay. I plead with him to accept my case.
Okay.
And then he would also admit to mine when he does not.
All right, sure. We have to go, but what would you miss about the 7th Parliament? Just real quick.
You miss me.
Yes.
definitely I'll miss him. He's such a fantastic chairman. I am not a member of his committee, but anytime I intend
he's a good friend of my committee.
Intended to participate on a lot of the important bills, he accommodates me, and over time I became more like a permanent friend. And I'll miss people like the MP of Insu South, the chairman of the Constitutional Legal, Honorable Abdallah, a very good man. And I'm shocked that NPP will allow such a person to leave Parliament. In any case, two rebuttals.
Oh, I don't have time for that, unfortunately, because we have to go. We have to go. I just want to ask you, what would you miss about the 7th Parliament?
The president.
I'm going to miss Nelson. You see, he can't. He's so unrelenting. He would never allow any statement to go without coming back. Even when the speaker has dropped the gavel, he still wants to resurrect matters. But that is Nelson for you. And that's the beauty of democracy. We must allow everybody to have their say. We say in this chamber that the majority will have their way, the minority will have their say. And so we must allow him to have his last word. And I'm happy that, but I'll miss Parliament. I must admit. I mean, I'm human. You've lived here for the last 12 years, and you come make new friends, and you work, and you move on. That is a natural part of it. But hey, we have to move on.
Is there a party?
Oh, certainly. I'll invite you. You know, I'll not let you. After the Christmas, I swerved, but this time I'm open.
Okay, all right. Listen, I think we will have plenty of time, Mr. Dafeamekpor, to talk about the future, the 8th Parliament. So this is certainly to be continued. You're still watching the AM show live from Parliament. My name is Mama Vio Sabwaji, engaging Mr. Roxin Nelson Dafeamekpor, Member of Parliament for South Dai, and for the very last time, at least for now, Member of Parliament for Mprae. So Mr. said A. Champo. Is back to you, Benjamin Akakpo.
Well, thank you very much, Mama V. Very interesting conversation that went on there. So things are shaping up, I should say, for tonight as we get into the dissolution of the 7th Parliament. And that is why we're giving you all the nitty-gritty with regard to happening